Hey there, Heather K. Margolis here from Channel Maven and Spark Your Channel. Today, I'm joined on our CMC podcast by Mark Troy of Union Resolute. Union helps companies figure out intent data to better understand who's interested in their products. Because if you're marketing to a bunch of people who don't want anything to do with you or your solutions, it's that much harder. This is a great podcast for vendors to share with their partners, and also for vendors to think about, should MDF include things like engaging with a company that focuses, or a platform that focuses on intent data, and how to better understand where prospects are coming from. So this is a short one. It's about 15, 20 minutes. Tune in, let us know if you have any questions. And as always, we're here to help. This is Heather K. Margolis with CMC Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. This week, I am joined by Mark Troy of Union Resolute. Mark, thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Mark, tell us a little about Union Resolute, how you came up with the idea, what you guys have been doing.
So Union was born out of a company called Piehead. It was an agency, more of a demand gen agency. Union was asked by a customer to help them with lead generation, sales support content. That turned into what Union Resolute is today, fast forwarding, using intent data plus a technology stack with a Salesforce app at the middle to find if there are companies leaning towards purchasing our customer's product or service.
So we talk a lot about intent data. And as you know, we work in the channels. So some of our clients are the IT vendors, the Googles and Microsofts of the world. And some of our clients are their channel partners. So small to mid-size, even some enterprise. Talk a little bit at the small to mid-size, if they're tuning in and they feel like intent data is way too complicated for me, I'm too small a company. Talk to us a little bit about intent data.
Sure. And it's not intimidating if you understand what it's really meant to do. The problem is with intent data, to back up a little, is the data itself is complicated. What you do with the data is the power. To get from the data itself to actually actionable data is difficult. Intent data for small businesses is powerful, but it can be expensive, and the process of onboarding intent data in a small company is difficult. What we've done is we've taken the data from multiple sources and engineered it as the lump of clay you get with data into something you can actually use for lead generation purposes. So small businesses are very, very, I would say, very powerful to actually engage with the data if they can figure out what to do with it. That's where we come in at Union Resolute, not to make it about us, but more about we're a small business as well. And our job is to say, are there companies leaning towards your service by leveraging that data?
Right. And if they are, you don't want to immediately jump on them with a sales message. What's sort of that next step?
So leveraging the data is really looking at, are there companies that you can see showing some level of interest in what you do? And you can use other data sources to kind of layer that in, firmographic data and technographic data. Again, sounds like they're complicated, they're not. Firmographic is size and nature of a company, and technographic is the technology footprint they use. So if you can leverage the data, it gives you a much better understanding of who may be in your market for what you offer.
And then if you realize that they're in your market, you're not jumping down their throat with a, hey, buy now, act fast, low pricing. What's sort of your philosophy around that outreach?
Well, I mean, every sales company within an organization is different. So the division or the entity or the people that are doing the sales, you still have to slow burn the sales cycle, in my opinion. It's a cocktail party message. So what would you say to people at a cocktail party? The high pressure sales, and the bad example that people talk about is the car salesman. You're not pressuring someone into buying something. You're just informing them of content you have that's relevant to them based on the intent data showing you they're in market. Very easy.
And we talk about that buyer's journey all the time. So I think the stat from Serious Decisions is before a company reaches out to you, they're actually about 60 to 70% of the way down their buyer's journey. So you don't want to back them up. You don't want to sort of start from scratch. You want to understand what they know and then how to take those next steps. What are some of the things that you have seen done really badly? Not necessarily using Union Resolute, but using their own resources. And what are some of the things you've seen done really well?
I think a lot of companies, I think the toughest thing is actually getting the data set up properly and understanding how it works. I think that's probably the most complicated. If you don't set it up right, you're talking to the wrong people, and that's the worst thing you can do. We all receive those emails every day where it seems to be a Marketo or a HubSpot send, which is powerful in the right context, but when it's for sales, it doesn't work. What you're trying to do is individualize a connection between the human being and the human being. It's authentic, it's real. So if you get the data wrong, you're sending emails to the wrong people, and it could hurt you more than help you, actually. People that do it right are those that understand the true buyer's journey and understand where people are in that journey. And if they are further along the bell curve, if you will, or further down the funnel, you can start to see that they're making decisions. They're starting to look at certain data points, and actually you're in market at that point versus the beginning of it, which would be a downloading of a white paper, is not necessarily fully down the buyer's journey to a level of intent. So that's where I see people doing it very, very well.
And let's say someone does engage with you. What's the process? How do you take all of that information and then bring it down the funnel, so to speak?
In regards to the way we work with the customer, how we engage?
Yeah.
So if you look at it from a data perspective, we start with the intent data. So we have something called a fit analysis, which is a kind of a hurdle for us to look at the customer and see if they're a good fit. If they are a good fit for us, we are a good fit for them. So it means that both parties actually have the upside where they can win. We don't make a lot of money on our packages, so the idea is to incentivize our team to work with the right customers. So about 25% of the companies we talk to do not pass the fit analysis for us. It doesn't mean that they don't have a good product. It doesn't mean that they are in a strange vertical. It just means that the data is not showing us where we can actually help. If they pass that fit analysis, it means we feel over time we can get the ROI for both parties. Typically for our customer base, it's 6 months. And now that's outside of COVID. For us, it's about a year. So we're trying to really be critical up front of the potential fit between us and the customer. And as they come in, the journey starts we're representing them. We are acting as their sales team at that point.
You mentioned COVID. How have things changed? I mean, I feel like in the technology sector, we've actually been doing fairly well because everyone went remote and needed different equipment and needed different phone systems and SaaS-based technologies. What's the rest of, are you guys strictly IT? What's the rest of the world look like?
That's a great question. We are B2B of any type. So it's more data-driven than it is vertical-driven. We work in manufacturing, healthcare, finance, high-tech, channel, et cetera. If the data tells us something good, we recommend to engage. What we've seen with data now is COVID has skewed the entire data set. It's since March and April was very chaotic for, I think, most anyone on the planet as a human, let alone business. Now, B2B has moved forward fairly aggressively since then. Some areas are over-indexing and doing very well. Other areas are slowly coming back. And then B2C, which is outside of intent data, has been hurt pretty aggressively. So what we're trying to do is make sure that people understand no matter what, continue to sell. If you're in B2B and you're a going concern, I've written some articles on LinkedIn about this, go forward. Continue to do what you do well. If you can't afford something, get rid of it and focus on the front end of your business, which is most important right now. So what we've seen with the data is most companies have a going concern. Some are doing very well, but the data is giving us different signals now, and it's starting to actually normalize a little bit more. But for 3 months, it was chaotic.
Yeah, it was I think a lot of us sort of went into quarantine and stopped spending money because we had no idea what was going on. And now we're starting to come out and support your restaurants, everybody. Make sure that they're around in a couple of years. Tell me a little bit, you mentioned intent data and technographics and firmographics. If someone isn't engaging with you, is this something that they should just forget about altogether? Or are there platforms that they could use that are less expensive? And by the way, have the conversations that we've had together, I highly suggest working with somebody who does this on an ongoing basis. To those of you channel partners out there who are thinking about it, you're running your business. When we went into quarantine, I was talking to a bunch of partners on a regular basis and kept saying, this is when you market. Like if you are busy, be busy. And if you're not busy, this is when you should be marketing, because when everything opens back up, we really are going to need your goods and services.
Yeah, I think it's important that people understand that data is powerful. It doesn't mean everyone should go out tomorrow and buy a bunch of intent data and try to figure it out. What it does mean, though, there are other data sets like firmographic and technographic data that are in the public domain. Leverage them. If you don't have time to leverage them, find an entity that can help you leverage that. And when you look at the front end of every business, channel, any B2B, it's an engine that continuously is moving and churning. The difference between prospecting and lead generation based on data or not data, you still have a list of people you want to talk to. You know your ideal customer profile. You typically know the rough TAM. Even if you don't have it all perfect, companies like ours are here to consult to help people get that right. Find out the sharp end of the stick, we say. But if you don't have that, continue to sell no matter what, because this is the time you want to invest in the front end of your business more than ever, especially in times when it gets tough. Now, can people do very well without a company like Union? Absolutely, they do. But can Union give them an edge on the prospecting and really lead generation side to hand them someone that's shown level of interest? The answer is yes. And if that's powerful, that's the engine that most people don't want to deal with. They don't want to do the prospecting. It's not fun. It's like ditch digging, I say. Nobody really wants to grab a shovel and go out there and do it, but it has to get done. So to answer your question, I'd say yes, they don't need the data, but it's powerful if they can use it and leverage it in some way. And prospecting is hard.
Well, and I think it was surprising to me, I don't want to make it sound like it's not valuable, how inexpensive it was based on what I had in my head. And I think for those partners who are listening, I feel like it's something that sometimes you don't want to undertake because you're so busy, you feel like you don't have time. That's kind of the point of the outsource, right? Is that the work is getting done while they're sleeping, or while they're meeting with current clients, or while they're doing their day-to-day work. So not an infomercial for Union Resolute, but someone, reach out to someone and get that help where you can. And who knows, 100%. Maybe vendors have MDF money that you can spend on something like that. I think that's way more useful than a golf event, especially now when none of us are really doing events. Mark, tell us a little bit. You're in New Hampshire, where I was born. Yeah. Not raised, born, and then moved when I was 2 to Massachusetts. Tell us, how are things in New Hampshire these days, weather-wise? You're all bundled. I'm in Boulder and 75 degree weather.
Well, it's 70 degrees here today. I live in Rye, New Hampshire. So it's been really nice summer. Luckily, with COVID and everything that went on, we live in a great community in Portsmouth, New Hampshire area. A lot of restaurants, been supporting them. Weather's been fantastic this year. We do have a drought, but I'll take that over a ton of rain.
Yeah, it's been good. Or a fire.
Yep, or a fire. No fires here, no earthquakes.
No fires.
Kind of quiet.
We're thinking of everyone in Colorado and California dealing with that right now. Mark, is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have? How can people reach you?
You can reach us on our website, unionresolute.com. That's the best way. And as for anyone in the channel that's looking to have a conversation around the front end of the business, this isn't sales pitch, it's more of a conversation, and that's how things work in our world. We all know that the channel is about referrals and connecting, so I'm happy to chat with anyone on anything related to sales. I enjoy it, and it's what I do.
That's awesome. And we actually, Channel Maven, that side of the business, not Spark Your Channel, but Channel Maven just opened office hours, which it sounds like you're doing as well. We just feel like companies are so challenged right now. And if all you need is a brainstorm, let's make that happen. So reach out to Mark. Any channel partners who need help, reach out to Jen at channelmavenconsulting.com. And vendors who just want to brainstorm or see what else is going on in the world, you can reach out to me directly, Heather at sparkyourchannel.com or Heather at channelmavenconsulting.com. I have way too many places people can get in touch with me. Mark, thank you so much for your time. It was great to meet you and hear more about Union Resolute and for your great advice.
Same to you, Heather. Thank you. Appreciate the time.